Manchester Clean Air Zone. Thank you very much.
Gavin Newlands.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. And of course, well, the immediate cause of the current cost of living crisis has been blamed on rising international gas prices. The real story is that of decades-long abdication of duties by the UK Government and an ideological frenzy of free market extremism. Fundamentally, the UK's system of economic regulation is aimed at maximising returns for investors and shareholders, not ensuring a comfortable standard of living for the bulk of people across these isles. And of course, add Brexit to that mix, and the UK Government are overseeing, nay, promoting a cost of living crisis which will impact every resident of the UK, but which will, as ever, impact the poorest and most vulnerable the hardest. There should be no doubt about what Brexit is costing households. Every minute haulage firms are being held up at the new EU border is more cost that we passed on to consumers. Every extra worker hired to deal with the exponential increase in paperwork caused by Brexit is additional cost added to sales. Every hurdle put in place by Brexit is another increase in living costs for every household and every family. Maybe the Prime Minister and his colleagues could dig out their old bus and slap the truth on the side of the bus that Brexit will seriously damage household wealth. But that sort of honesty would be out of character for the isolationists. They will still maintain the uplands of Brexit are sunlit and that confusion and barriers they've erected are having no impact on the cost of living. And Madam Deputy Speaker, Scotland is being hit hardest despite voting against Brexit and voting yet again against the Conservative Party. But of course, the inflationary pressures that record vehicle fuel prices that others have mentioned are seen right through the UK economy, but they're felt hardest in Scotland. The sad irony that we experience higher petrol and diesel costs while being responsible for getting much of the stuff out of the ground in the first place is not lost on many Scots. And until we have fully transitioned to a net zero society, that irony will continue to demonstrate the particular impact Scotland is having to endure as prices rise. Indeed, it's scandalous that an energy-rich country like Scotland, awash with both carbon-based and renewable energy for decades now, has nearly 1/4 of its households in fuel poverty. The limited powers of the Scottish Parliament mean it is limited to actions such as improving household energy and efficiency and installations, programmes that have been pushed hard, in fairness, by both Labour-led and SNP governments since devolution. But the plain fact is, the fundamentals of the energy market and the radical changes needed to tackle this scourge are in the hands of the UK Government, and they have shown no sign of taking the kind of action needed to improve the lot of millions of households in poverty. In fact, rather than take that action, the UK Government simply changed the definition of fuel poverty to something more amenable, surely the ultimate in evading responsibility. But there is no dodging the carnage that is coming this year when the full effect of price rises is felt. I fear for the numbers who will find themselves in fuel poverty, whether the UK chooses to count them or not. And particularly when we look at the UK Government, or what the UK Government thinks is an acceptable amount to live on if you have to claim social security benefits. Does the Minister on the Treasury benches who will respond to this debate really think that a £2.30 a week increase in job seekers' allowance in April is enough to meet these rising costs? I'll be delighted to hear him answer that in his closing remarks. The poor, the sick and the disabled are again facing the brunt of excessive inflation. The result of this Chancellor's refusal to maintain universal credit at its previous level or even uprate legacy benefits to match. As always, the Government will expect communities and charities to pick up the pieces. Organisations like Renfrewshire Food Bank or the Darkwood Crew in my constituency, or already hard-pressed local authorities. Scotland's citizens and their household bills are bearing the brunt of systemic mismanagement over decades of UK governments and their short-termism that has been the hallmark of successive administrations. We're subject to policy made for London and the South East that is simply unfit for purpose when applied to Scotland, and every resident of Scotland is literally paying the price. Madam Deputy Speaker, the plain fact is the UK Government have sat back over the years, indeed decades, and allowed this crisis to build up as they repeat the mantra that the market will solve everything. The market cannot solve everything. That path has been a complete failure, and now the chickens are coming home to roost. And this Government allied that approach with a kamikaze Brexit, which, as they were told umpteen times throughout the process, is destroying livelihoods and is driving up the costs of trade and therefore the cost to the consumer. The UK Government has unleashed a perfect storm on the country, forcing households to choose between heating their homes or eating. The choices made by this Government that have led to the present crisis are not the choices Scotland made. There is a different road that supports our people instead of punishes them. These choices are not in my name. Scotland will choose its own future soon, and I hope Indeed, I know, Madam Deputy Speaker, it will choose a future that places a greater value on people's day-to-day lives than the current set-up and the current management.
Duncan Baker.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It was only a